Oh, you want me to start now? Okay. All right. Okay. So we ready? Hi. My name is Kathryn Williams. I come from a family of incest. I come from a family of total dysfunction. Everything I believed to be true, I found out later was wrong. So I graduated in October 2017 with my Bachelor's of Science in Human Service Management from University of Phoenix. And I want to say that that was the beginning of me really starting to believe in myself. And I'm 45 years old, and I'm originally from Allentown, Pennsylvania, Lehigh County area. So I got to Williamsport by way of Muncy State Prison. I was raised in the projects, so when I looked out my window, I seen pimps, prostitutes, and drug users. And so I was always teased at home for being dark-skinned, and I'm also the child of an alcoholic mother, so I never really felt any love at home. So I left when I ventured out at the age of 12 years old. I was looking for something and some place to belong. I came upon a guy who was older. He always had a lot of girls around him, and to me it was intriguing. Also because he was paying me attention, a little bit of attention. And so I didn't know it then, but he was a pimp. And so since I was always in search of a family, I ended up joining that family. And there was a woman who was, he had a couple women, but there was one who was, she kind of brought me in and mothered me and nurtured me and, showed me the attention that I wasn't receiving at home. He ended up taking me all over the world, myself and two of the other girls. We stayed at different hotels. It wasn't difficult for me to turn my first trick. Family does things for family, so it didn't seem like it was wrong to me. And so I turned my first trick at the age of 12 years old. I just wanted to make them happy. I wanted to be a part of something and someone. There was always an exchange for sex. It was always sex with older white men. There was always a monetary exchange. And so I went to this party one night at the age of 17, and I was in Massachusetts at the waterfront. I'll never forget it. And I seen this guy, and he was a young guy. I was 17, and he was young. He was really nice looking. And so I thought, wow, I want to have sex with him. To me, that was different because I had never had sex with someone because I wanted to have sex with him. It was always in exchange for something. So I ended up having sex with this guy, and I ended up getting pregnant, and so needless to say, pregnant on the road with a pimp and two other wife-in-laws, I was no longer beneficial to the family. So they kicked me out. He put me on a bus and sent me back to Pennsylvania. And I remember leaving feeling just really empty and lost, not knowing what I was going to do, not even, just lost, no sense of direction. And so when I came back to Allentown, I sought out the community that I had just recently left, which was pimps and prostitutes. And it just so happened that at that time, freebasing had hit the scene. And so I began indulging in drugs, and I was pregnant, and I was smoking coke, and then eventually it changed to crack, and so that's what my life consisted of. And I had my first crack baby in 1991. This went on from 91 until 2001. I had 7 crack babies. When I wasn't using the drugs, it was like I would be reminded of those feelings of, what I did when I was smoking crack pregnant. I was in jail and I had to go face those charges. And so I went in front of Judge Carol K. McGinley. I'll never forget it. And she looked at me and she said, and I was standing before her, I was like 6 months pregnant. And she said, "Miss Williams, I am disgusted with you." She said, "This courtroom is disgusted with you." She said, "You are a social parasite. And you pollute our community with your crack babies." And she said, "We're going to do something so that everybody can be happy, And she said, "And you're standing in front of me now pregnant, And so at that time, she rescinded the sentence that I had originally, and she sent me to Muncy State Prison. I was scared. I was petrified. I didn't know what to expect. I was so clueless. Because all I had was the child in my womb. I was leaving my other babies behind, and so I went to Muncy, and I was supposed to do their drug and alcohol program there, called Wings of Life. And when I got there, I wanted to get involved in everything else, I just didn't know who I was. So I got there and I got involved in same-sex relationships, and it was just crazy. Muncy was like a world inside of a world. Eventually, I came up for parole, and I ended up going, I remember telling the parole board that I wanted to go back to, I didn't want to go back to Allentown because there was nothing there for me. And so they let me go to TLC. Wow. And so I went to TLC in 2003. And that was, I didn't even know what to expect going there. I was just so, only thing I knew was the tools that I had up to this point. To me, it seemed like I was going to another city, It was the same game. It was just going to be different. You know what I mean? Just in a different town. And so that same mentality that I had, that I took with me all over the world as a prostitute, was the same mentality I brought with me to TLC. And TLC wanted me to get my own place, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So you know what I did? I found myself a sugar mama. And yeah, I got a sugar mama, and I ended up moving in with her. And me and my son went there and we stayed, and it was okay, but it wasn't, that was just another phase. I was really looking at it as security. It was supposed to be a step up, but it ended up being a step down when I look at it, because my behaviors were still crazy. I was still, I was just using that person. Not that I wanted to, but that's really all I knew. It was about surviving. And so as a direct result of that mentality, as a direct result of still turning tricks in this area, I ended up relapsing again after 7 years. My way of thinking became more violent, and just my way of whatever. I was more than willing to do whatever, even more. And so I ended up meeting a lady, and we came up with this plan to rob this man. Wow. And nobody was supposed to get hurt. Nobody was supposed to get hurt. Because that's not even who I am. I'm not. That's not. I don't. And so I was keeping the guy busy. I was keeping the trick busy. And Oh, I was keeping busy, and the two guys came in with the face masks, and it was supposed to be an exchange of marijuana for crack. We were going to trade it on the streets, and they came in with this pipe, and they started beating the man and his dog. And I remember thinking, when this was happening, I remember thinking, like, it felt like a movie, because I just didn't believe that it was real, and so I ended up, after that, we ended up leaving, and nobody ever got anything. They didn't get the marijuana, and I didn't get the money, and so it was kind of like, it was horrible. It was very violent, it was also scary, because now I'm looking at the people that I've chosen to be around, and that's not who I am. I'm not that kind of person. I don't have that kind of heart, and so and so I have my son with me, and by this time I'm in full-fledged addiction, and so I call the lady Harriet Dalton again from Prison Life Ministries, and I say, listen, I can't keep my son. I say, you got to come get him. You've got to place him somewhere, because I can't do it, because I'm using and I'm about to be on the run. So she came and got my son again, and he just couldn't understand. And I remember telling him that I was coming back, and I remember him saying to me, like, well, why am I taking all my clothes? You're taking everything out of the drawer. Why am I taking all my clothes? And I remember saying, well, because when I come back to get you, we're going into a whole nother house, and there have been plenty of times like that with him where, like, I can remember specifically one Christmas I was using, and we didn't have a Christmas tree. We didn't have anything up. And I remember telling him that Christmas was that the day, because he heard his friends at school talking about Christmas. And I remember telling him that they were lying. Christmas wasn't coming up, and that was, because of me trying to, negate or forget what time of the year it was, but and so I ended up going on the run, and I went on the run to Mississippi, Louisiana, and it was even more horrible. For a moment, I actually thought that I could try to get my life together being on the run. I got a job at a casino, and, I did what I knew. I was trying to find tricks at the casino, and it was crazy. And so eventually I found the drugs there, and that was nuts. And so I ended up getting getting stopped by the police, because I was trying to do a transaction for a guy, and the next thing I know, I end up I'm down in New Orleans at the police station, and while I'm there, they ran my fingerprints, and they said, you're wanted. You're wanted in a little town called Snyder County and Union County in Pennsylvania, and we're going to extradite you. And so they extradited me back, and the past that I was running from, I was now on my way back to face. And I went back to Muncy. And while I was at Muncy this time, it was kind of like I was more focused on doing what I needed to do to get out, because I had a taste of life. So I knew that life really did exist as I had seen it on TV, because as I had seen it other people around me, my community was no longer pimps and prostitutes and drug users. My community was, now that I had seen, recovering addicts, people who were working, going to work every day. I had been exposed to that, and so I wanted that. I just didn't think that I could get that. I didn't think it was possible for me, and so I ended up going back again to TLC, and once again TLC was kind of like, that was like my second home. It was such a place of safety. I mean, I can't forget, like, you're talking about someone who just didn't know. Like, there was so much that I didn't know. What's normal anymore, but when you come from a home where every family has some dysfunction, but when you come from a home where you're taught the basic things, like make your bed, brush your teeth, do your chores, do this, do that, and when you come from a home like that, and if you don't, you know what I mean, when you're then exposed to that, and when you find it in a place, in a residential facility, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's kind of where I found that stability at. And so I went back to TLC, and it was a place of, like I said, it was like my second home. I felt safe. I went back and got back into counseling, and just did all those things I needed to do to get back on track. I went back into the 12-step meetings. Life is just so different today, beyond my wildest dreams. My tears are not about sadness. I need to say my tears are about how far I've come. When I look back, life has been rough based on the decisions that I made, but I'm grateful, because I had to go through that. So the person that continued to mentor me in my life was Chanel Johnson. She just, she and I had developed this spiritual relationship, and it was like she just breathed life into me, and she became my mentor, and just encouraging me, and and so I'm watching her, and as I'm watching her accomplish her goals, I'm thinking, maybe I can do it too, maybe I can do it too. And so the first goal I accomplished, after watching her accomplish, she graduated college, and I went to her graduation with her. So then I ended up feeling like I could graduate college. So I graduated in October 2017 with my bachelor's of Science and Human Service Management from University of Phoenix. And I want to say that was the beginning of me really starting to believe in myself, and feeling like, I can, if I put my mind to it, if I can do this. And so one of the other things that has been really vital in my life has been my faith. My faith has, people probably think I'm crazy, but my faith has kept me in moments of despair. I'll say in moments of despair. And my relationship with Chanel, my life is just so different today, beyond what I could have ever imagined. I would have never thought that I would have graduated college, and that I would be starting my own entrepreneurship as a consultant. I was a grant writer. I would never imagine my life as it is today. And so when I look back now, I look back only to see how far I've come, and I know that I've got so much more to go. I'm excited about my future. I'm excited about the things that are happening in my life. I believe in me today. Whereas before I couldn't say that, and I'm just grateful. I'm so grateful. Coming to TLC really showed me like what living is supposed to be like inside of a house. For instance, they taught me how to cook there. I never knew how to cook anything. It was soups, it was cakes, it was hug juices for me. That's what my life consisted of. They taught me how to, the daily hygiene stuff, just how to take care of myself, how to take care of my surroundings. But one of the things I noticed, and I was thinking about this the other day as I was looking back about the structure that was provided for me there, and how if TLC hadn't have made me make connections with anybody outside of there, I would have stayed in that mind of institutionalism. And I say that because I came from Muncy State Penitentiary, where I had a structure. When the bell rang, I knew it was either chow time. When whatever bell rang, I knew what that meant. And so when I came to TLC, it was the same kind of structure, but they supported an environment, for a safe environment for me to be able to come back to, even in going out to the community, which on a lot of days was scary for me, So TLC had become home.